Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I wanted to start by this video by showing you something and then making a point that I think that needs to be made more often than not. And I wanted to thank Cyflux, and I'll show you in a second, reminded me that this is a great time. I haven't gone over this type of thing in a little while, but it's important to, we went through the 2018 bear market, and then we had a run up, and then we've come back, but I feel like now is a perfect time to go over some of the life things, the important life things that I talked about during the bear market. And I'm going to read you an excerpt so that you can really understand where I'm coming from and where I think that most of the people that really get on in this world are coming from. And so first, I want to show you the 26 cents that we're at. Now, you've got, when you see XRP 26 cents and you've been through the bear market and you've been through the market and not a lot's happened, but you've also been here to observe the bigger picture of what's going on. You've been here to observe what is going on at Ripple. You've been here to observe the confidence that would not come out of Ripple, would not come out of the CEO of Ripple or the CTO of Ripple. You've seen all of these things. You've seen the on-the-ground progress that they've been having, and you've seen the confidence that has come not just from those two guys, but through with all of the people in Ripple. You've seen what is going on. So I wanted to, and just one little tweet reminded me of this. So yeah, okay, today's a bad market, but I want you to look at this, and or more importantly, I want you to understand the way that someone who is going to come out smelling like a rose looks at this versus the person on Twitter that's sitting around whining and complaining about how, oh, I'm not liking this and it's making me mad. We've been, why is XRP down? Those people, as I've said before, their big boy pants are ripping off of them, and they really are not built for this, okay? And it's okay if you're not built for this. You've got one of two options, because if you're doing that on Twitter and you're complaining, or if you're one of the people who is using the market being down as an opportunity to be an I told you so, or a guy who capitalizes on negativity, to me, that is the people that do that. I'll put it this way. I've never known anyone in my life who lives on negativity who has done anything significant ever. Not one time, not one person. The people that I admire and that I follow and that I have watched go from one success to the next have been the people who see the glass not just half full, but they see that glass as overflowing always, and they never sway for it. Now, that does not mean that you look at things and you say, regardless of the evidence. What I'm talking about is these people who do what we've all done. They look at the research, they look at the landscape, they do their own research, and then after they do all of that, everything inside of them, their gut and everything else, through the use of education, common sense, doing your own research, and then your gut just speaks to you. And at that point, they confidently, when in the case of XRP, these are the people like myself that confidently look at this and we say, oh yes, 26 cents, this is just yet another opportunity. But I want to read to you an excerpt, but first I want to give credit where credit is due, because Cyflux is the one that reminded me of this. I have now this is a person who is looking at this through the right prism. I've officially reached my dream goal for XRP holdings. I thought I would never reach it, to be honest. But thanks to the recent dips, I made it. Anything that's bought now, I'll cash out. It's been hard as hell, but damn, it feels good to make it. Cheers, everyone. Now, I want you to compare and contrast this attitude to the poor me, oh, why is the market down that you see on Twitter. This is the attitude of a winner. This is the attitude of someone who understands what they're invested in, has done the research. And so the ups and downs of the market don't matter to Cyflux. Cyflux sees what I see. Cyflux is plugged in to the XRP matrix and sees what any of us who have really done the homework and looked at this, what we see. That Cyflux gets it. But what I want to zero in here on is Cyflux has seen this as the dips and all with XRP as an opportunity, and Cyflux had a goal. And so this is more of a bigger picture life lesson that I wanted to read to a few of you out there that get down on things when it gets like this. But I think it's important. This is from one of my favorite people, and I've read things from him before, Earl Nightingale. He was a I don't want to call it a motivational speaker. Undercuts how smart he was. He was an inspirational speaker before it was cool. Okay, listen to what I'm about to read to you, because this is the way that the winners think. This is the way that you need to think. Days like today are not the days that you start crying in crying to yourself and all that. That is what weaklings do. Today's the day that you look at it the way Cyflux does, as I've got another opportunity. And the reason you look at it that way is because you've done your research. You've looked at all of this. You've studied all this. You know what's happening. You get it. All right, from Earl Nightingale. The stories of people achieving unusual success despite all manner of handicaps never fail to capture our attention. They're inspirational, to be sure, but they're much more than that if we study them closely. The boy whose legs were terribly burned and who was told he'd be lucky to ever walk again becomes a champion track star. The woman, blind and deaf from infancy, becomes one of the most inspirational figures of the century. The poor children who rise to fame and fortune have nearly become commonplace. In this age of unprecedented immigration, we see examples of people who start off in this world with virtually nothing and within a surprisingly short time have become wonderfully successful. What sets these people apart? The people with vast handicaps, such as not knowing the language, not knowing the right people, not having any money. What drives the boy with the burned legs who becomes the champion runner, or Helen Keller, blind and deaf, who becomes one of the most inspirational figures of our time? The answer, if fully understood, will bring you and me anything and everything we truly want. And it's deceptively simple. Perhaps it's too simple. The people we've talked about here, the thousands currently doing the same thing all over the world, are in possession of something the average person doesn't have. They have goals. They have a burning desire to succeed despite all obstacles and handicaps. They know exactly what they want. They think about it every day of their lives. It gets them up in the morning, and it keeps them giving their very best all day long. It's the last thing they think about before dropping off to sleep at night. They have a vision of exactly what they want to do, and that vision carries them over every obstacle. This vision, this dream, this goal, invisible to all the world except the person holding it, is responsible for perhaps every great advance and achievement of humankind. It's the underlying motive for just about everything we see about us. Everything worthwhile achieved by men and women is a dream come true, a goal reached. Excuse me. It's been said that that what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. So anyway, I'm not going to go any further into that, but I want to give a shout out to Cyflux, because anybody with a goal is thousands of steps ahead of everybody else who doesn't. And so if you get nothing out of what I've just said other than that, take it for what it's worth, because it's the truth. There's a reason that, have you ever noticed that the team in a football game, football season's coming, have you ever noticed that when you're watching a football game, a team may do absolutely nothing and they may trail the other team for the entire game, but it never fails. Let's say a game is is 14-10, and it's in the fourth quarter. It never fails that the team that's behind seems to pick up steam. And the reason they pick up steam usually in the end of these games, and it ends up being finished in the last second, the reason that happens so often is very simple. That team that's behind, they've all of a sudden got a time limit and they've got a goal, and it's right in front of them. That's the reason the runner that's behind the head runner is more dangerous than the head runner, because the guy that's out front, he doesn't have that thing in front. He's got a goal, but the guys that are behind, they've got the ultimate goal. They've got that, they can see those legs moving as fast as possible. They get an extra leg up, and they get some extra motivation, because they say to themselves, I'm going to go up there and take this guy out. And that is how life works. If you don't have a goal, get one, okay? Get several, but put a time limit to it, and make them crazy goals, folks. Make them big ones, because I've done it myself, and I can tell you it works. Okay, I'm sorry if I went off on a tangent today, but I feel like people need this right now out there. Michelle Vandenberg at MVDB01 sent me this. Now this is big, folks. This could be one of the biggest articles I've seen in quite a while about anything having to do with geopolitics or the economy. From the Crypto Lark. This is huge. Dollar in big trouble with no respite in sight. Remember, folks, the dollar as the world's reserve currency means that everybody has to buy their oil with US dollars. This is the first time that I have actually seen where they are trying to take it down, and they're physically announcing that they're doing it. Russia's Rosneft to switch to euros in oil products tenders traders. Russia's Rosneft, one of the world's top oil producers and exporters, has notified customers that future tender contracts for oil products will be denominated in euros, not dollars, as early as this year, 5 trading sources told Reuters. The move is likely to be seen as an attempt to offset any potential negative impact of U.S. sanctions on Russia. They account for 40% of Russia's oil output. Folks, this right here is a literal shot across the bow of the United States. If there's anything that could cause this market to completely implode, the world markets and specifically the U.S. market, this is it. Because what a lot of people in the United States do not realize is if the United States, it's just a matter of time, if and when the United States loses that reserve status, the cost of living in the United States will go up. It could go up 2 to 4-fold, just like that. And people in the United States are not, I can tell you from firsthand experience, they're not prepared for that. Okay, I wanted to show you this. This is interesting. This is from ADX Lighting the Way. This is from the SEC. U.S. SEC charges Russian ICO rating company over alleged violations. Securities and Exchange Commission announced today that Russian entity ICO Rating has agreed to pay $268,000 to settle charges that it failed to disclose payments received from issuers for publicizing their digital asset securities offerings. Now, this has been one of the big deals. If you are in any way promoting any kind of security or this type of thing, you have to disclose. Well, what I laugh about every time I hear this kind of stuff, it takes me back to this scene in this movie, and you gotta go watch it if you haven't seen it. I've talked about it on this channel before. The movie The Big Short, by now most of you have probably watched it. It's a great movie that shows you the insanity that happened during the financial crisis. One of my favorite scenes and one of the more ridiculous facts of Wall Street and our existing, it's not just from the financial crisis, it is still this way, it is still just as ridiculous. One of the most disgusting and absurd things that went on during that financial crisis is that the underwriters of all of those mortgage bonds that went south and became worthless, like the Morgan Stanleys, the Goldman Sachs, all the big investment firms that were underwriting, the way the system worked and still works to this day, folks, as crazy as this is that when they underwrite these mortgage-backed securities, a Morgan Stanley or a Goldman Sachs, to get those mortgage-backed securities rated, they go to the big ratings agencies, S&P, Moody's, Fitch, and all the others. Well, all of those are competitors of each other. Well, imagine a Goldman Sachs, they have a mortgage-backed security underwritten, and then they go to S&P 500 and they say, we want you to rate this. Well, S&P has an incentive to give it a good rating, because if they don't, then Goldman or whoever that's underwriting it could say, well, if you're going to give us a bad rating, we're going to take this down the road and go to Moody's. That is how this works. So it's in that scenario, it is literally impossible to get an honest rating on something. It's impossible, folks. That's a huge conflict of interest. Well, there's a scene in The Big Short. Go to the 215 mark, and this is from someone called Extractors, where I found this clip. You can go on YouTube and watch it. Go to the 215 mark, and these guys from an investment firm are meeting with a representative from S&P, and they're saying, wait a minute, you've rated all of these mortgage-backed instruments AAA, and they're all worthless, but you've rated them all AAA. And the woman literally tells them, look, this is just the way it works. If I don't rate them a certain way, these underwriters, they'll go down the road to Moody's or whoever other competitors, and they'll get them to give them the good rating. And literally says that. Now, folks, the crime here is that this was not fixed after the financial crisis. It is still this way to this day. And there's a reason it's still this way to this day. This is how these people control the whole monetary system. This is how the game is rigged, folks. It's a rigged game. It just is. And everybody, all these guys, imagine, I want you to just put yourself in the position of, let's say that you're a guy at Goldman Sachs. You're one of these brokers or financial advisors that's supposed to be, these are the geniuses of the world. Well, are you really a genius if your company has just underwritten something, and then you know that it's going there and it's now going to be rated AAA regardless of whether it's garbage or not? How hard would it really be to make money on that, folks? How hard, if you have that kind of a setup, is it really difficult? Are you really a genius, or do you just have information that other people don't have? I mean, come on, this doesn't take a genius to figure out. Anyway, every time I see this stuff about these ratings agencies, I think the same thing. It's a joke. It's all a joke. It's all a game, folks. It's all a game. And that, including what's going on with digital assets right now, this is all a game. They're waiting. They're not ready yet, folks. They're very close to ready, in my opinion, but it's all a game. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family. It is all a game. But you and I, what I would compare it to is you and I are playing a Monopoly game right now. And as an XRP holder, you and I have hotels on Boardwalk and Park Place. Thank you for listening.